Prime Minister Stephen Harper has now wrapped up a visit to Ukraine en route to the G7 meeting in Germany. Harper announced more money and more support for Ukraine's police force as the threat of war with Russia appears to be escalating. But as Jacques Bourbeau reports, Ukraine's leaders are asking Canada for something much more specific.
Hundreds of artillery shells have rained down on the eastern Ukrainian city of Donetsk in the past few days. A 4-month-old ceasefire rapidly disintegrating, fears of a full-scale war on the rise.
We do see flaring up in hotspots which have been quiet for quite some time.
It's against this backdrop that Prime Minister Stephen Harper is in Kiev to meet with Ukraine's top leaders, offering strong words of support after a meeting with President Petro Poroshenko.
Canada will not, and the world must not, turn a blind eye to the near daily attacks that are killing and wounding Ukrainians here on their own soil.
So what is Canada doing to help? Today, the Prime Minister pledged a $5 million aid package to train Ukraine's civilian police force. But the country's Prime Minister is looking for more, specifically help for Ukraine's poorly equipped army.
We ask our Western partners to make a bold and strong decisions to support Ukraine with the defensive, and I want to underline once again, with the defensive weapons.
It's a plea echoed by ordinary Ukrainians. At this farmers market, the gunfire may be far away, but its effects are felt by all.
Families here get together, take loans, put on sales to buy their kid who's going to the front a Kevlar vest.
But Canada is not yet ready to arm Ukraine, even with defensive weapons. Harper says he will raise the possibility when he meets with G7 leaders in Germany.
While Ukraine may not have a seat at the table, I can assure you, Mr. President, that the situation here will be very high on Canada's agenda.
This reluctance to give Ukraine military, not just moral support, disappoints the head of the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress.
Right now, Putin knows that he strongly outguns the Ukrainian army, and until the Ukrainian army can actually defend itself, then Putin will continue to move the agenda forward.
Whether to provide weapons to the Ukrainian army is proving to be a difficult question for Western leaders, who are trying to find the balance between helping Ukraine stand up to Vladimir Putin while trying to avoid a direct conflict with Russia. Randine?
Jacques, as you mentioned, Ukraine is asking for weapons, but the Russian ambassador to Canada is calling on Stephen Harper to take a different, more diplomatic direction. What's his suggestion?
Well, the Russian ambassador recently spoke to Global's Tom Clark on the West Block, and he is urging Prime Minister Stephen Harper to convince Ukraine's leaders to begin direct negotiations with Russian-backed rebels and change Ukraine's constitution and make Russian an official language in this country. But given Stephen Harper's tough rhetoric against Vladimir Putin, that is pretty much a non-starter.